Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Okay, I have an overabundance of these small white buttons. I know a lot of us have these small white buttons and you do see a lot of projects using buttons, but usually people use the decorative buttons and yeah, you don't often see people using these very boring little white buttons. So I thought I would use them because, well, if you have an overabundance of things, then that's what you should be using. So I have pulled some out here on the left hand side. These are just buttons with 2 holes in them. I'm lazy. I do not want to sew buttons with 4 holes in them today. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use these tiny little buttons and I'm going to use one of my paper bag base albums. And we are going to make ourselves just another one of those little interesting albums to put into your journal. I'm going to use some scrap fabric and we're going to use these buttons. So probably easiest just to explain as I go along. I was just going to secure this piece of fabric with the thread that I was using, but yeah, I quickly realised that it was just a bit too slippery. It was just going to annoy me trying to sew on buttons and hold that and stuff all at the same time. So I just put a tiny bit of glue down. It's really not there to hold this piece of fabric permanently. I'm going to be sewing buttons all over this through the fabric, through the paper. So it really doesn't need to be terribly secure, just so long as it doesn't move around while I'm trying to sew on it. You'll see me once in a while just grab a thicker needle and poke at these buttons. Some of them have been used for craft previously and they have glue in the eyes of the buttons, so it's hot glue. It comes out easy enough as long as you poke something sort of wide enough through, you can pop it out. So that's what I'm doing there. It's clearly not related to the project, but I thought I'd better let you know I'm not, what I'm doing. Now, as you see, I'm sewing through the fabric and through the whole page. Now, in the end of the day, I am actually going to stick this page to the page next to it so that all of the stitching is covered up, so you won't see it. I am not going to stitch on both sides of this page. I am just going to stitch on this one, and I'll stitch on the opposite side of the next page so that I can glue the backs together. That way we go from a 6-page book to about a 3-page book, but yeah, you don't see any of the stitching. So that's my idea. I am not stitching these in a pattern. I am just stitching them randomly all over the place. You could do little patterns. You could make it look like a sample book. I just wanted to sew buttons to bits of scrap fabric in a little album. That's all I wanted to do. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, but you could certainly make these a bit more uniform and like they were actually a sample book of buttons, or anything else that your little heart desires. You could, you know, make little patterns out of them, little flowers or something if you would like to, but yeah, I'm just making a mess because that's what I like to do. Now I'm using a little paper book here, obviously. The fabric that I'm putting on it is what's making it sturdy. If I was just sewing through the paper, there's every chance the buttons might just tear out in the end of the day. You could make little fabric books and do this, and that would be super cute. The reason I'm using this little book is because this is what I do with the bases of my paper shopping bags. I use a lot of paper shopping bags in my journal making, and this is the best use I've found to make use of these, you know, bases of paper bags. So I make a lot of these little albums. So these are just ideas that I've come up with to use them. If you've got them hanging around, you have to use them. That's how it is. So yeah, but little fabric books done the same way would be super cute. You could, again, you could just sew on your opposite sides and sew the pages together, and it would look really adorable. But yeah, I'm using this because, well, this is what I have handy. Okay, I decide I want to sew a bit of a bigger button on the front as well, so I do that, and then that will do the front as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to move on to the next page. Okay, I plan to skip through some of this because there's just so many buttons. I can watch myself so much less have you watch me sew. Again, there is no rhyme nor reason why these buttons are going where they are. Um, I just poked a hole and started sewing wherever I fancied, so yeah. You could make it much more uniform than I am, but this was just a little random collection of clear buttons or white buttons that I wanted to just put in a little book. So yeah, this is how mine ended up, but there's tons of other ways you could do this and make it super cute. Okay, now I have sewn enough buttons, in my opinion, on these little pages. I'm going to glue them together. So yeah, I won't be sewing anything else on these. If I want to sew something else on these, it will have to go through both pages. So just keep that in mind. You want to finish your page off before you glue it together. I'm happy with these as they are, and I'm not taking too much care in gluing them together as long as they're stuck together. These pages are not totally stuck like very neatly together anyway. There's little bits hanging off here and there, so yeah, that's just how these little albums are. It's how I like them. So these are now glued together. You can see where the edges sort of don't meet square and all the rest of it, but I like that. So, and we have our first page. So yeah, I will move on and do the other few and stick those together and show you the finished product. And I really like this. I think this is super cute, and it's a great way to use up those boring little buttons. I know everybody won't have these, but I mean, look, I've spent my entire life cutting buttons off of things when I throw them out. If I throw out the cloth, I at least cut the buttons off first. And so I have so many shirt buttons. These are all little shirt buttons, from cuffs and collars and, down the front of shirts. They're just hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds of them. So if you're a crazy button hoarder like me, you probably have a pile of these as well. So, and they're not that decorative, so we don't use them a lot in things. So this is a good way to get rid of them, and I think it looks really sweet. Be great in a sewing journal, but you could really honestly put this in any journal and it would look fantastic. And there we have it, we're all done, and I think this is a really fantastic little project. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it, and I thank you very much for hanging around until now to see the finished product. It's been great having you here, as it always is, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.